AbbVie's culture really is best reflected through what we call our ways we work. We created, go back to the beginning of AbbVie. We spun out of Abbott at the end of 2012 as a new independent company. And one of the great benefits that I had as the new CHRO was that culture was one of our top four business strategies. So the thing I like about that, of course, is it wasn't, oh, we have four business strategies and as the HR person, can you help us with culture? No, it was actually one of the business strategies. And not many companies do that. And I give our founding CEO, Rick Gonzalez, and our first leadership team a ton of credit for prioritizing culture. So working with that first senior team, we created the ways we work. We have 5 different ways we work behaviors. And the important thing for us is they are an articulation of what it is that we expect from each other. And we go through a serious process from even before you're hired, assessing you against that as we think about you joining our company. But beginning from your onboarding all through your last day, our ways we work have great meaning. We assess all of our employees every year on the ways we work, on each of the individual ways we work, and then in the total. And we also, very importantly, make the ways we work equal to what you accomplished in your role. So we've made behaviors equal to performance. And I think that's a very unique aspect, and not every company does that. It's been really wonderful for us. And what it prevents is, in some companies, you have that high-performing person who doesn't meet all of your aspirations around culture. In our company, our goal is not to have that individual here. We have a standard. We want people to elevate to the standard if they need to. We also want to teach and coach and assess and develop people to that standard. And the hope and the dream from a culture standpoint was that we would create layers of leadership built to a standard that really represents the ways we work. And so all of our people leaders are coached and developed and assessed, and very importantly, rewarded against the ways we work. But all of our employees know that's our standard. When we do our employee surveys, it's against that context. We spend a lot of time on culture because we know in the end, culture drives engagement, culture creates levels of inclusion, and very importantly, culture ultimately drives performance. We had an interesting dilemma. We were a startup. We did effectively have a blank slate, but also we had size and scale. And so our reference to ourselves, we were the world's largest startup. We had the benefit of some financial wherewithal, of product, of pipeline. Now we had plenty of uncertainty about where we were going to go to, but we had the benefit of that, to your point. I think the blank slate challenge was, yeah, what about culture? Now, the benefit of the blank slate is everything was kind of up for debate. The challenge was everything was up for debate. So we had to be very careful about prioritization. We did a few things. The ways we work were created with the senior team, and that was critical. So not just HR bringing this forward and saying, hey, I think this is what we should, articulate as the ways we work, or even we have a talent philosophy that we created. And that talent philosophy was created with serious inputs from our leadership team. And the more people felt like, oh, we created that, and that has meaning for us. First of all, it gave us clarity, but it also gave us a sense of ownership. And it also allowed us to move forward with greater conviction, greater purpose. And so for me, the big difference was once we had that clarity, was then to hardwire the ways we work into every HR practice and talent practice that we have, such that it's not avoidable and it's just what we do and it's how we do it. And it's been really powerful. We measure it with our employees because at first you think, how is this going to resonate? And what our employees have told us is they love the ways we work. It gives them clarity. They love being assessed against it because it tells them what they're good at versus maybe what they're okay at. And that difference can matter around coaching and development. The fact that we also reward people based on it is really motivating for people to say, I want to be that best example of the ways we work. I want to be your best example of people leadership. And the more you can do that, it creates this momentum to keep raising the bar. And I think that's also critically important. We're in our 12th or 13th year now operating as a company. And you think about, continually raising the bar on expectations. You can do that if people are motivated, they've got clarity, and it's being reinforced over time. And so at the beginning, candidly, we didn't know we would have the time to do what we've done. I would tell you, we do not declare victory. There is no finish line for this work, but I'm also really proud of what we've accomplished over this period of time. So it's this really nice position to be in now, creating this level of sustainability. My dream always has been, this is not about the first 10 years or the second 10 years at AbbVie. My dream at the beginning was that 100 years from now or so, someone will look back at the beginning and say, that first team had a vision, they had a strategy, and they committed themselves to creating a unique culture that can drive engagement, that can be inclusive, that can ultimately drive performance. That's my dream. Always looking for data points to validate, that our strategy has been effective, that we're having the impact that we want to have, that candidly we're living to the full aspiration of our culture. So we have some internal metrics and we have some external ones. And internally, you mentioned turnover as a potential area. Our turnover is very low on a voluntary basis, and in particular, it's lowest for our best talent. So our best talent with the highest potential is low single-digit turnover, like really low, and that's what we look to do. Is to say, are we impacting our talent in the way that we want? That our best talent is motivated to stay and to grow with us. We look at internal metrics as well around things like engagement. So we measure engagement. We've had incredible results, well above industry benchmarks, and then very importantly, well above best company benchmarks for engagement, for inclusion, for the strength and quality of our people leadership, all those things that you might want to just check yourself against. So it's one thing to measure your employees, but we also measure against external benchmarks, and we're really pleased with that. And again, keep going and keep elevating. And then some external recognition. This has also been really rewarding. It makes me proud. Again, we do not declare victory, but it gives you a nice reference. We've been on Great Place to Work's 25 world's best workplaces for the last 7 years or so. And last year we were ranked number 4. And we take great pride in that, in particular because that's a recognition that comes directly from your employees. Employees give you that feedback. That's not us with some good marketing. That's our employees around the world saying, I love working for this company. I have high levels of engagement. I feel included. I feel like I belong. And that's a wonderful validation. The Fortune 100 best companies to work for list, also, I think in the 7 or 8 years in a row category, is really powerful. Even things like Seramount, which used to be Working Mother Media, we were ranked number 1 2 years ago. We've been in the top 10 6 of the last 7 years. There's a number of key references that help us kind of know that we're still living to the standard, that we keep raising the bar. So both internally and externally, it's nice to have these validation points. Really fortunate. My experience has been positive. We have a great connection with our workforce and our employees. I think, again, we have a clear strategy around culture. So I haven't seen what you're describing. I've read about it, and I'm paying attention. There's a few things around the nature, talk about the future of work again. I think there's a few things CHROs or HR professionals are going to continue to have to try and deal with, which is the nature of work has changed to some level. Sometimes it's where work gets done. Sometimes it's how work gets done. And I think that the most important thing that we can do, because we have a work model, the most important thing that we can do is perform as a business. When we perform well as a business, the model is less important. And the model has to be consistent with how you perform at your best. The model has to be consistent with your culture. I've wondered if some of those companies are having a challenge around culture or having a challenge around performance. So I'm always looking for that underlying, what's the catalyst? And my sense is for some of those companies, performance is an issue. Perhaps culture is an issue. And for others, particularly maybe if they've chosen to be fully remote, I wonder about the long-term development of their workforce. How do you know your talent if you're not able to see them on a day-to-day basis? So I think there's some challenges that some organizations are going to face. What I would encourage those HR professionals to do is to think a lot about, again, how clear are we on our expectations for how work gets done? How clear are we around the expectations around culture? Does culture matter here? And if so, what would that look like? How do we reinforce that? but it all should be in the service of something. So what's that something for those companies? It varies a bit. I know for me, it's all in the service of the patients that we serve. That gives us great clarity. It gives us motivation, and the rest of it takes care of itself.